Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Meeples on the Ground, and I'm Nick, and this is Sarah.
Hey, hey.
And today, this is Socmom and Friends. I know we haven't been, this is maybe like our first video in a couple months, but COVID
Yeah, and
and riots.
yeah. So Nick is a sheriff's deputy, and the world has been a bit of a crazy place over the last few months.
It's all fun, you know, you just hop on the crazy train and
ride it till we die.
yep.
But I think we're starting to find a new normal.
Somewhat, yeah. The new normal, yes, that's a
For
good term.
today, anyway. So we were talking about it, and we definitely wanted to put out some more content.
Yes.
We have a special guest with us today.
If you can see him, he'll be running around screaming.
Yeah, he may or may not be able to see him. But our cat Sam is wondering what's going on. He's probably going to try to join us. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
So we have added exactly one game to the collection.
It's really an expansion.
It is. Since the last time that we've recorded an episode, we've added the Isle of Cats Late Arrivals expansion to our collection. And we did break the rules for this one. And
Hey, it's an expansion, people.
our list of
Loopholes.
exceptions to the rule, or loopholes is getting longer and longer. But we did pay cash for this one, and the reason that
we helped a friendly local game store, damn it.
Yes, of course, especially during these hard economic times. That's not a joke.
Yep.
So we did pay cash for this one, and the reason that we were willing to do that was because we backed the Isle of Cats on Kickstarter, and we specifically did not include the Late Arrivals expansion because we weren't sure about a lot of things. We didn't really know the creators of the game. We weren't familiar with the studio that produced it. We didn't know if we were going to like the game itself. We didn't know what the quality was going to look like. And we were trying to have a little bit of discipline. So we said, we're not going to go all in. We're just going to get like the base game with the upgrades and stuff like that. So we did, but we've been playing it a lot lately, and it's something that we're really enjoying.
Yeah.
So when we saw this on the shelf at our local game store, we weren't really sure if we were going to have another chance to get this if we waited till the end of the year, which is when our moratorium on buying games is over. So we decided we'd go ahead and break our rule and get it anyway, just because maybe it wouldn't be there next time we went to get it.
Yeah.
So we've added Isle of Cats Late Arrivals to the collection. We've also backed a few things on Kickstarter, but they've been mainly backing without a reward or small things here and there. For example, we backed the Renegade Games Puzzles Kickstarter. We did that without a reward. I love jigsaw puzzles. It's one of my favorite things to do with Nick is if we just kind of sit down and work on a puzzle. We usually leave it up for 2 or 3 weeks until it's finished. We just kind of work on it a little bit before bed here or there, just kind of when we have a few minutes, we just kind of want to sit down and do something sort of chill, you know.
Just listen to some music or an audible book or something like that.
Yeah,
and
it's nice time for us to be together, but
put the phones away.
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
Just get away from technology, because that's why most of us play board games, because it's really nice to put down technology and see who's across the room from us.
Yeah, and it's nice because if you're not quite at that mental level where you feel like you want to play a board game or you could handle playing a board game, then a jigsaw puzzle is a nice way to have that same sort of feeling where you're at the table together, you're doing an activity, an analog activity, but you don't have to have like a ton of brain power to go into it. So we really like to do jigsaw puzzles, and I was super thrilled to see the Renegade Games jigsaw puzzle line. I was a little disappointed though, and this is why we backed without the reward. I was a little disappointed on the games that they chose for that. They had some beautiful puzzles from some of their really lovely games, like Arboretum, which has some gorgeous artwork. Kids on Bikes had some really neat artwork. And they had a couple of other ones too, but they're just not the Renegade games that we like.
Where's Clank, damn it?
Yeah, Clank, bring on the Clank puzzle,
Where was
man.
the Clank?
I would back the crap out of a Clank puzzle.
I would buy a 5-set Clank puzzle now.
I would buy like $100 worth of Clank puzzles. So if they do another Kickstarter for Renegade puzzles, let's go Clank. Let's go Clank.
Wink.
So I backed that one without a reward, or we backed that one without a reward because we wanted to encourage them to make more things like that. But because we weren't exactly attracted to the actual options they had, we didn't want to back at the level where we would actually get anything from it. We just wanted to encourage that in the industry. So that was something we've backed on Kickstarter. We've also backed a BoardGameTables.com aftermarket upgrade that is made with the permission of the people at BoardGameTables.com, but from a different creator. He is making these 3D printed upgrades that you can add to your BoardGameTables.com table. And they solved, for me, the only issue I had with the table. Because we have, I don't remember, I think the Jasper is the one we have,
Yes,
maybe?
we have the
We have the
Jasper.
Jasper. So we could seat up to 6 people there if we wanted to. And the way that that would work is you'd have 2 on the longer ends on each side, and then 2 people on the shorter ends. And so they think...
You get one person on the shorter ends.
Yeah, sorry. 1 person on each of the short ends and then 2 people on each of the long ends. And they were thinking, okay, well, if you seat people like that, then we'll put a cup holder right in between the 2 people on the long ends. So the cup holder mount is right in the middle of the table, and we only have it arranged to seat 4 people. So if you're sitting on those ends, the cup holder's like right
at your gut.
right in the middle of your tummy, which is not
I want
conducive.
my chocolate milk, but I don't want it that close.
Exactly. So this aftermarket upgrade that was on Kickstarter a few weeks ago, it was new mounts that you can actually screw into the bottom of the table so that you can put the cup holders basically wherever you want. So I was really excited about that. We're going to mount the cup holders so that they're on the ends of the long ends, so that if you're sitting there, you can put your cup on the left or the right instead of having it right there in the middle. So that was really exciting, and I'm really excited about that Kickstarter. I think it was like $20, and they're going to send us all the hardware we need to install the mounts on both of the long ends of the table. So super excited about that. And then I think we've already mentioned it previously on the show, but you had also backed Necromolds, which is coming in September.
It was supposed to come out in June, but as you know, COVID has pushed back almost every game that was coming out on Kickstarter or just coming to Kickstarter with reasonable factors.
Yeah.
And still coming in strong, still fun. So hopefully when that comes in, we do a video on it and just watch and play. And
I'm excited. It seems like it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's just a crazy, miniatures clay game. So your miniatures are made out of clay, and that's how you summon them, is you put them in these little casting books. And so you put the putty in there, you smash it in, and then you pull it out, and then you have a card saying how far can it go. So there's measuring tools, abilities, and then when you destroy someone else's monster, you take this casting ring and you push it down on there, and it's
I
just
think it leaves like your insignia, right?
It leaves an insignia,
Yeah.
or like a little monster. Like sometimes there'll be spiders or skulls, and it's just cool. It's just a really interesting, fun game.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a neat one.
I can't wait for it.
So that's everything we've added to the collection or backed over the last couple months. Not a lot. We are considering 2 Kickstarters that are either up now or going up soon. One of them I think is already up already is Canopy, which is a 2-player card drafting and sort of like a tableau building type game. I don't think I would be super attracted to it just based on the artwork, and I mean, it sounds cool. It's a 2-player drafting game. We like drafting and we play a lot of 2 players, so it does seem like something we would play, but normally I don't think it would be something that I'd be tons of attracted to, but I've heard some really terrific reviews ahead of its release. Some reviewers and content creators and stuff like that got some advanced copies. Yeah. And people are saying some really good things about it. So we are considering backing that one, which I think goes live sometime soon.
I think it might be already.
Might be already. I think it is already live because it happens to be live at the same time that Dead Reckoning goes live, and we were considering that one as well. Dead Reckoning is a new card crafting game from John Clare, the creator of Mystic Vale, and Edge of Darkness and Custom Heroes and things like that. He's done
Just
several.
Keeps pumping it out.
He always creates games that I enjoy. And I really like the card crafting mechanic. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think that it's a clever mechanic that's well instituted in the games that it's in. So I'm interested in Dead Reckoning. However, some of the videos that I've seen when people have done reviews on advanced copies of that, it doesn't really seem like the kind of game that I would enjoy. So I don't really know. When the campaign goes live, I'm going to kind of look and see how we feel about it then. We may or may not back that one. Like I said, I typically really like stuff that John Clare does. And AEG always does like fantastic job with production and stuff like that. So it's on my list of ones that I've definitely got my eye on. But we'll just see. I don't know if I'm actually going to want to back it once I get on the page and kind of look at what it is and what's available and that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely take a look at the page once it goes live.
Yeah.
But excited about it.
So Canopy and Dead Reckoning are going to be like overlapping. Their campaigns overlap. So we figured, well, when Dead Reckoning goes live, we'll just kind of jump on Kickstarter and look at both of them and see if we want to back one or either one of them. There was a new boss monster game called Overlord, which was successfully kicked, and they wrapped up that campaign a few weeks ago, I think. And we did look at backing that one. To me, it seems like a really fun game. It's a tile placement game set in the boss monster universe, and it just looked like a game that I would probably appreciate and have fun with. But we decided not to back it. And I was pleased to find out that it will be coming to production. So we may not be able to get like a Kickstarter exclusive type, thing with that, but it will be if we decide later that we want to get it. It's not like we won't be able to find it.
Yeah.
So we looked at that one, but decided not to back it. So we've been playing some games lately. We've played tons of games since the last time that we recorded. We're not going to go through a big, huge list. Some of the ones we've been enjoying quite a bit are Luxor from Queen Games. I received a copy from a friend of mine who works at Queen Games. He sent it to me by my request. I asked him if he would send me a copy, and he very graciously did, which I super appreciate. Thank you, Ryan. And we finally got it to the table earlier this year, and I really, really like it. A friend of mine, Jim Price, the Board Game Bandit, he is one of my co-hosts on Crank It Up, and he does some other stuff in the board game industry. And he and I have fairly similar tastes in the games that we like. If Jim likes a game, then typically I can guarantee that it will be something that I at least find to be interesting. And Jim was raving about Luxor, I think last year.
Yeah.
He thought that it was award worthy, and he really, really enjoyed the game. So it was on my list, and when I reached out to Ryan to see if he would send me a copy, and he said yes, I was really excited. But we only just sat down to learn it and play it earlier, maybe like last month.
Ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe like last month or a week or two ago.
And it's really, really good game. This is one of the reasons why we've stopped kind of halting on getting consistently new games because
it was just on the shelf, it was just there on the shelf. We weren't playing it because we were always getting new stuff,
Yeah, and if you don't play the old games and you're constantly with the new games, you might find that you miss out on a good chunk of games that have come out maybe a year or something that was just under the radar, because this was a game that was like, this is really like scratch the itch for what I like to play in like to see in board games. And it was just like, this is great. The quality was good, the gameplay was good, and the replayability was there. It was just an awesome game.
For me, the first time I played it, within the first 10 minutes or so, I wasn't really sure I was going to like it. There's a little bit of a learning curve. It's just real tiny at the very beginning of the game, but it's not like many other games. You have to hold your cards in a certain way, and you can only play certain cards in your hand based on their position in your hand. And I know there are some other games like that, but most games are not like that. Most of the games that we play aren't like that. So there was a bit of a learning curve there, and I wasn't really sure that I was going to like the thought process necessary to manipulate the cards in your hand to do what you wanted on the board. But we played, and I just fell in love. It's one of those games that I can sit there and kind of math out fairly easily for me, and I really like when I can do that in a game and that kind of thinking is rewarded by the game, because I'm fairly decent at simple maths and I enjoy exercising that mental part of myself. So for me to be rewarded for doing that in a game is satisfying to me. And Luxor really nails that on the head, that feeling for me. So I really, really liked it. We've played a couple times since then. We've only played just the two of us. Now, I've heard that it gets really tight with 4 players. So when we play with other players, we will probably play with 4 instead of 3, just because we usually play with like another couple or something like that. So it will probably be a significantly different experience the next time we play.
Yeah, and we can't see how that's gonna, play out, but even playing just within the game, you can already tell if there were 2 more people here, because there will be some abilities that come up while you play the game, and if they came up earlier or it was more muddled, it might affect how you play cards or the way you play and how you want to, it's just, we already know going into it that adding more players is automatically going to drastically change the game in an exciting way. Not bad. It's going to be good.
I think it's going to be exciting, but I'm not entirely sure I'm going to like it as much as I like the 2 or maybe even the 3-player version.
Oh yeah, because there's those games that come out that 2 players, great. 3 players, okay, it's not bad. It feels like it's clogged, and then once you get 4 or even 5 or 6 players in some games, you're just like, there's too much going on in this game. I like this game. I love it, but not at this player count. I've heard people that say about other games, like we had a friend, when we were playing Viticulture for the first time.
Yeah.
He said, you know what? I didn't mind playing this, but I didn't like this game because of how many players it was. It was his copy.
We were playing with 5 players, I think, if I recall.
5 or 6.
It might have been 6. Yeah, it was.
I'm pretty sure
it was us and 2 other couples.
Yeah, 2 other couples.
Yeah, so it was 6 players, and I think that was the first time he'd played at that player count.
It was the first time
he
did that, because I think he said 4, 2 to 4 is like the best, and I'm not sure if you can do that too, but 2 to 4 he said it was like the best ones. Once he got like 5 and 6, he was just like,
he didn't prefer it.
This didn't prefer it, yeah.
And I think that I'm still really going to like Luxor, but if it does get really cutthroat, I probably won't like it quite as much at a higher player count, but I'm loving it at 2. So even if we play it at a higher player count and it does tighten up or get really cutthroat, and I don't like it, well, then I could just say, okay, well, then we know that for me, that's a game that I enjoy at 2 players.
And it's really interesting to see some games that have that tight, once you add 1 player, the game changes. Once you add 2 more players, the game really changes. There are some games you could add like 100 players, and it's like, well, this didn't really change.
We actually played a game kind of like that, and I don't know if we talked about it on a previous episode or not. I think we played it in between now and the last time that we recorded, but it was called Fields of Green, and I liked it, but there was very little player interaction. So because of that, I felt like we were just kind of sitting there, and it was a game where you kind of had to think out what you were going to do next and stuff like that. So we just kind of like sat pretty quietly together and just sort of played, and it was definitely like the prime example for me of a multiplayer solitaire, because we were both just kind of like completely wrapped up in our own game, and we were playing adjacent to one another, but it didn't really feel like we were playing with one another. And I liked it, but it wasn't, because it wasn't interactive, I felt like it was kind of, I don't know, it felt like it was lacking that sort of, personal connection that you can get through some games. I'm not really sure why I went off on that side tangent.
Is what it is. A little extra.
We've also been playing Seven Wonders Duel. We've played several games of Seven Wonders Duel. It was fun. We just kind of rapid played several games. For a few days, we just every time we played a game, it was Seven Wonders Duel. And I've lost significantly throughout that streak. I think I lost.
You've been coming back, and you've only lost I'd say 1 or 2 times you've lost because there would just be like a one move. It was at the end. I was already like, I'm done. I've been defeated. And I think she just took her turn too fast. And I was just like,
There was a
I think
situation
there's
that came
definitely
up.
one that you took your turn too fast. And I was like,
there was a situation that came up that I had it. I had the game in the bag. And there were 2 cards left. and I needed to take one to actually win the game. But I was so sure that I was going to win that I wasn't thinking about it, and I just grabbed the other card, and I handed him the win. And I was so frustrated with myself because I had it, and I just stopped paying attention for just long enough to not have it anymore. But it's been a lot of fun to kind of rapid play that one. And I also, we've been, except for work, we've pretty much been in self-isolation. We have, my parents live with us, and my dad has some significant medical problems. So I personally have been in like pretty deep self-isolation. But for the first time, I had a friend over to the house the other day, and she and I sat down and played Seven Wonders Duel, and I won with a military victory. And I don't know that I've ever won with a military victory.
I think you go for points for a lot of times.
I usually do. I usually completely avoid science, and I usually typically avoid the military unless I feel like I have to do it defensively. I usually just go for as much of an engine build as I can get, and then those chaining effects, if you've played Seven Wonders Duel before, you'll know that you can, if you purchase cards in like age 1 or 2, then they can give you free cards in ages 2 or 3.
Yeah, with symbols on them. Cards with symbols will give that to you because they'll come up in age 1, and then age 2, I think a lot more come up in age 2. And age 3 is like, there's some big cards that if you can get them with a symbol,
just get them for free.
You can just really turn the tide of a game.
Yeah.
And I think it's the point values is I think a safe bet, because I played with you multiple times where I would go for science and that I just need one more science, but I lost the game. Yeah. Or I won barely because I was like, okay, I need points too. And then military is actually, I think, pretty hard because it's not in science. If you get 6, that's it. It's not like if your opponent gets 1, then you need 7 and you'll need more.
I also feel like with the military victory, it's a little bit easier for me to keep track of the military and like, where we're at on that sort of slider. With the science, I can kind of easily forget like, oh, he already has 4 science symbols that he needs to get to his 6 to win. And usually I'm cognizant of that and I'm trying to track it. But with the military, it's very visual, and because both players are controlling that, I'm much more aware of what's going on the military track. So I think, it's probably a little harder to win with military.
I think there was one time where I tried to do both. So like if one fell, I could do the other, and I'm pretty sure I lost that one because I didn't really do too much with points. I was just focusing on, okay, do I and then at the point where everything was pulled from out under me, and I was just like, okay, well.
I really like the engine building in Seven Wonders Duel. I find that to be really satisfying for me. Not just like getting the resources that you need to be able to get cards, but also those chaining cards and things like that. So I find when I sit down to play Seven Wonders Duel, I typically go after the points instead of the science or the military, because to me, that's the fun of that game, is figuring out the best combinations and the tightest configurations of cards so that you can build your wonders, get the resources you need, buy the cards you want. So for me, the science and the military, I usually just kind of not ignore them, but I don't go for those types of victories. So when I won with the military victory the other day, it was pretty cool for me because I usually don't pay any attention to that at all.
Yeah, even there's times where I don't go as deep as I could go in with military or science, because science, if you get another science of the same symbol, you can get another science ability, but it depends on what's out there. Yeah. And with military, you could go for points, but make sure, hey, if I continually control the field a little bit, because if you go to a certain point with military, you can take away coins and then you get victory points. So there's that extra 5, because I think I won once with an overwhelming amount of points, but that was from so many different avenues and sources that, like, okay, I won because I didn't put all my chips in one spot. I spread them out.
I think too, and I know you guys are probably like, okay, move on to something else, but I just love Seven Wonders Duel.
So good. Play it.
You should play it if you haven't, or if you have, play it again. It's an awesome game. I think
Pantheon.
I'm not so sure about Pantheon. So I think recently it's been more and more in my mind that when you draft your wonders at the start of the game, you can really sort of choose the direction that you're going to play in. So when I won with the military victory at the beginning of the game, my opponent drafted first. So when I was left with wonders to choose from, I was going to get to pick 2 right away. And there were 2 that had military like points on them. So I was like, okay, if I go for a military victory, then like these 2 wonders can help me achieve that. So I was already at the very beginning of the game, I was already starting to formulate my strategy for that particular game. And I think that with the wonders, the drafting of the wonders at the beginning of the game, and they're just kind of seeing like which cards fall out, and then, you know, obviously what your opponent's going for and stuff like that, you can really sort of, you can react to what's happening in real time, and you can, you know, sort of adjust your strategy and your play style as you go, depending. And for me, and like that's any game, right, for the most part, but for me, like that's what I've been doing lately when I've played Seven Wonders Duel is just kind of trying not to get so streamlined into the thing that I always do or the thing that I want to do, and be like, okay, where's the overarching strategy here? What's going to be the thing that I'm really set up to do well? And then let's do that as well as we possibly can and see how it works. So yeah, Seven Wonders Duel, it's awesome. If you haven't played it and you're looking for a good 2-player game, dude, play it. I promise, it's amazing. I hope you love it. If you don't, we can't be friends. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. We can be friends. We've also been playing some Arkham Horror, the living card game. We have tons of content for that, and we've only just recently started playing it, I would say, air quotes, seriously.
Yeah.
And we've played it before, but we wanted to kind of go through the whole storyline from like episode to episode type thing.
Yeah.
So we started all the way back at the beginning. We just grabbed a couple of like pre-made decks, not the new pre-made decks that they've just been releasing
But, like,
recently.
online
But yeah,
decks.
we had some decks that some people had made online, and we said that's what we're going to play with, so we don't have to worry about the deck construction factors, and we just like launched straight into it. And you know, it had been a while, so we were relearning the game and stuff like that. We died horribly.
Yep. She got eaten by the ghouls first, and
Yep.
all of a sudden they turned their eyes on me. I was like,
Yep. Actually, what
Just a white
happened was I held the ghouls off of him so he wouldn't die,
True.
and then they ate me, and then they turned around to attack him.
I was sitting here punching the ghoul priest in the face, and like, die!
Not
dang
fast
you.
enough.
Not fast enough.
So we've been getting back into that lately. We had been buying the expansions and scenario packs and everything as they were coming out fairly religiously, but we stopped doing that when we realized we weren't really playing it, and we were putting a lot of money
into it.
And so we just went through earlier today. We went through and we figured out exactly what we're missing, and it is almost $500 worth of product that we don't have that's come out since we stopped buying
Someone's
stuff.
gonna have a nice deal.
Maybe, but I really want us to be more disciplined about actually playing it consistently and getting through some of the content that we already have before we decide that we're going to continue to, you know, financially invest in that one.
Yeah.
So.
And if you like the game or haven't played the game, you don't have to play the game to read the novellas.
And they are amazing.
They are amazing.
There are 6 that have come out so far. They came out with 5 maybe 2 years ago. I think.
Yeah,
I think they took
so.
a break last year. They came out with 5 in 1 year, and then they just started coming out with them again earlier this year. So we got the first one, and I'm hoping that there are 4 more in this sort of cycle. This game sort of runs in cycles, and I'm hoping that because there were 5 novellas in the last cycle, that there will be 4 more in this cycle. The novellas are fun. They're fast reads. They're not like, you know, big, huge tomes or anything like that. They're novellas. They're short, simple, but the writing is fairly decent. The stories are interesting, and it's fun to get a sort of background look at the investigators that you can play in the game. And if you don't play the game, but you like H.P. Lovecraft or like science horror stories, they're really wonderful for that, especially if you're not looking for Lovecraftian language, but you're looking for like a Lovecraftian theme.
And not like a slasher horror where it's just
Yeah.
gruesome. This is just very, there's those parts, but it's not like, they focus on that. It's just like it happens, but it's in the dark, so you don't really know. It's like, what happened to that guy? It's like, you don't really know. It's like...
They're quite wonderful books. I really, really enjoy them. They're probably some of the most enjoyable books that I've read in quite some time. And I'm not an avid reader, but I do read often. So they're really good. We recommend those for sure. I was going to say something else about those. Oh, one thing that I like about the novellas, and even the card game to a certain extent, is that while you are faced with these seemingly insurmountable odds, there's always like a ray of hope. It's never like just hang it up, the world is over, And I know that can be sort of a hallmark of this style of horror genre, is that like there isn't really hope. But that is one thing that I like about the novellas, and like I said, even the game to a certain extent, is that maybe you're going to go crazy, and maybe you're even going to die, but you can save the world, And I like that. I like that it's not just like, hang it up, Cthulhu's going to win, Yeah. So we've been playing the Arkham Horror card game. We've also been playing a couple of games that we have had on our shelf for a while, but haven't tried or haven't played in a long time. And in those, we played a really simple little game called Dice and Score Farm. This is basically a farm-themed version of Yahtzee. But it was cute, it was fun, it was fast, and it offered that familiar, comforting, hey, we know this, but it's, new-ish.
Something different. It's
Yeah.
not Yahtzee, it's, Yahtzee Farm. So you're just, I got 5 ducks or 6 ducks, and you're like, yes.
And it was cute. The dice, it's a dice game similar to Yahtzee, like I said, but instead of having numbered pips on the dice, it's animals, farm animals. So there's horses and pigs and cows and chicks and I don't know, something else. And so it was cute. It was a cute, simple version of Yahtzee that, while it was incredibly basic,
sometimes you need that in a game.
Yeah. And it was kind of fun to sort of have like a nostalgia type feeling in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
We also played Pay Dirt within the last month or so, I think.
Yeah.
And for me, Pay Dirt automatically immediately replaced Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Because it has some similar mechanics. But for me, it was just a better experience, all around better experience.
Yeah, we had high hopes for Chocolate Factory.
We
but
did.
then it
I
didn't work
really
out.
liked the theme. It seemed like it was well produced. We got a copy that had like some upgraded pieces in it, and so there was like these cute little chocolate bits in it, and I just loved that. And I was really, really attracted to the theme, and I thought that the mechanics sounded like something I would enjoy, but when we played, it was just... The pacing was off for me, so it was too slow, too fast, and then it was just over. So that was kind of frustrating for me, and we pretty much said, like, well, that was disappointing. We're going to just move on from this one, and we put it in our buy-sell trade pile. But when we played Pay Dirt, I was like, this is similar to Chocolate Factory, but I like this way better.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people say that too, that if you're looking for a game like Chocolate Factory, then try Pay Dirt or vice versa. So I'm really glad that we found one that does what Chocolate Factory did, but in my opinion does it better, because that was nice. It was a little disappointing that Chocolate Factory didn't function the way that I had hoped it would, so it was nice to have like an alternative that does function in that way that I expected. So like I said, we've played lots and lots of games, but those are the ones we're going to highlight today. We have played a few other ones, but these we purged from our collection. We've played Quadropolis for the first time ever, and we played just a 2-player game, and again, maybe it would have been different with a different player count, but at 2 players, we thought, this isn't really for us.
Yeah.
So we threw that one in the buy-sell trade pile. We also played On Her Majesty's Service, which is an older game from Come On Games. It was one of our first-ish real hobby games. And when we acquired it, we were still sort of baby gamers.
Which is not bad,
it
but-
felt like it was not overwhelming, but it felt intense. It felt like a really like packed game. Like there was lots going on and that it was really challenging. But when we played again just recently, we realized that we've come quite a long way. And it was not as challenging.
Not at the level we wanted anymore. And
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, okay, we played through the motions. We did some cool abilities. The art is cool, a little creepy, but I mean, it just turned out not to be something that we enjoy anymore.
Yeah. So we put that one in the pile as well. And then the last one that we put in the pile was Quantum, which same thing. We played it several years ago. A friend of ours introduced us to it. And at the time we liked it. We bought a copy at a Black Friday sale. We put it on the shelf and we thought, yeah, we like that one. It's on the shelf now. And then we actually went to play it the other day and we're like, oh, we don't actually like this as much as we thought that we
really
did.
that great.
So we've purged a few games as well. There are some games coming out that we're kind of interested in. And again, we have a bit of a moratorium on buying new games this year. So we're probably going to hold off on these unless we can get them with store credit. But we are interested in My City from Thames and Cosmos. It's a sort of like an entry-level city building and legacy style game. I've heard good things, and I really like a lot of stuff that Thames and Cosmos does, and I love legacy games. So I'm very excited about that one. It's on pre-order at our local store. And then we're also looking forward to the new, it is called Cobble and, one second. It is called
Cobble and Red.
Hang on. Cobble and Fog. And it introduces Victorian era factions like Frankenstein, Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. So that to me sounds like it could be a really neat expansion. I like the unmatched system, but a lot of the expansions that have come out, I've just kind of been like, okay, fine, whatever. The Robin Hood versus Bigfoot one was probably the most interesting one to me. But there was like a Jurassic Park one, I think, and like cool, but not like I don't care for me personally. But this one sounds like it might be really neat. Yeah. So that one's one that we're looking forward to.
And Z Garcia from the Dice Tower did a review on it, which is good. And he talks about it, shows the pieces, and informs you on like how it plays and how each character plays in the new set, which is, if you want to dive that deep, go ahead. It's awesome. Check them out.
Like I said, I like the unmatched system. We've only played a handful of times with the base game, which I don't remember which characters are in the base game.
King Arthur,
was
Medusa, Sinbad, Alice. And
that's right, yeah, Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. And I think that was a really neat set to like start with, especially because it's kind of a diverse set. But it kind of showcased like the zaniness of, hey, you can have this character battle this character, while also showing the mechanical or the mechanics that are really specific to each faction. Like the Alice in Wonderland one, she could shrink or grow like she could in the books and the movies, where like she'd eat the cake or drink the tea and she would shrink or grow, and then she could, if you took advantage of that on the map, it could really be, like advantageous to you in your battle plans. So I think they did a really neat job with having characters and mechanics match up. And on top of that, because you can pit characters from different books or stories or whatever against each other, then you could be having like some crazy thematic experience where Alice is shrinking and growing, but Medusa is like got snake hair and doing crazy things through that, and so I think the system is really neat, and I'm excited about this expansion. It sounds like it would be a really fun one to delve into.
Definitely.
There are more things coming that we're excited about as well. Things like there's a new expansion out for the road or the race to El Dorado.
Yes.
The quest for El Dorado.
The
quest for El Dorado. There's a new expansion that's come out for that. I think it's called like the Golden Temples or something like that. We really like the quest for El Dorado, and we've been playing that pretty frequently lately. So I'm excited for more content for that. The new 5-6 player expansion for Clank is neat. I'm excited about that as well. Honestly, I don't know that I would ever play Clank with 5 or 6 players. I'm usually happy that we can do it at 2 or 4. But there is new, fresh content if you wanted to have individualized starter decks. So that's cool. And there's a few other here and there. There's some stuff coming out from AEG that's either come out already or will come out soon that I've got my friendly local game store either holding for me or they are going to get it for me when it comes in. Stuff like the Box of Treats expansion for Cat Lady. And I don't even remember what else. But there's some cool stuff coming. There's some cool stuff out. And we're just going to keep.
And there's some treasures in your game collection that you should try to play.
Yes, for sure. Because, like I said, even though we've slipped a little here and there, for the most part this year, we've really been able to explore our existing collection. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been nice to sort of have the financial burden of buying new games lifted a little bit. Not that we were like, mortgage the house, we got to buy more games. We weren't, that bad. But it's been nice to not spend our free money always on games and gaming related stuff. And then it's also, because of that, it's forced us to enjoy what we have. And we've really been having a good time exploring our collection and finding things that we really like Luxor and the quest for El Dorado and Isle of Cats, and ones that we've been enjoying quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
That I don't know if we would have played more than a handful of times if we were constantly influxing new games like we used to. I think when the year is up and we are free to buy new games, I think that we're definitely going to go back to buying new games, but
yeah.
I hope that we don't go back to it with the same frequency with which we were buying them before. Yeah.
Because, with not buying and going through the games that you have and the enjoyment of it, and that will just really, we can try to find this game, but even we might even try even more to see if we actually enjoy it. And as you grow in the board game, in board gaming, whether you are just basically starting off with the newest things or you're starting off with the simplest things, you're going to start getting a handle for all the terminology and
and you'll know what you like and
what you like and what you don't like, but still try things that you don't like. There are some games like some trick-taking games that you said you wouldn't like. The Crew.
Yeah. The Crew is amazing. I love The Crew. I dislike typically trick-taking games, cooperative games, and limited communication games. Those are typically games that I'm like, I'm not into that. But The Crew is all 3 of those things, and it's amazing. Amazing. Genuinely amazing. I can't tell you how amazing it is. I've had more fun in the 3 or 4 hours that I've played The Crew than I had with most of the games I played last year. It's just an incredible game. Can't wait to lay my hands on a copy. I was holding off when it first came out, and I shouldn't have done that because it got really popular, and then it was sold out everywhere, and now they're waiting for a reprint. So it's on order at my local game store, and as soon as copies are available, we're going to be spending some of our store credit on that. Nice. Because I just freaking love that game. But games like The Crew, super fun. So we are going to be kind of in a holding pattern. All the conventions this year have been canceled, which means that my job has changed significantly. You may or may not know, I'm the tournament director for Double Exposure, so I was traveling a lot before this. When COVID hit the U.S., I was actually traveling. I was on the West Coast at the end of a 2 or 3 week trip, and and that was what I was doing for work. Was I was just traveling at least once a month. I was at a convention, hosting tournaments or things like that, and that's all stopped now. So my job has changed significantly, and because of that, we're not going to conventions. We're not really.
Conventions probably for the rest of this year are going to be canceled.
Yeah.
There's little to no expectation of actually going to something this year, and even if it's available, should you really go, we don't see the value in going so early.
And honestly, like I said earlier this episode, I do have a parent who is in the category of being a higher risk.
Yeah.
So for me, there's an added layer of hesitancy to just jump back in. I mean, even if it were theoretically safe, I have more to think about than just myself. And because of that, I will probably remain hesitant to join larger groups or functions like conventions and stuff like that for a while. So life has changed significantly. I think it will continue to change significantly. But we are very blessed, and it's been difficult, but I think it's been difficult for everyone. So we're healthy for the moment. We're pretty happy. We hope you are. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been good.
Yeah, it's been okay. It's been all right.
Take what we can get.
Yep, exactly. Life is good. It's difficult, but it's good. Like I said, we hope that it is for you. If it's not, and there's something that we can do, please do not hesitate to reach out. If it's, if we could just share an encouraging word, or if we can pray with you or for you, if we can send you a promo or maybe even a game, if there's some way that we can make your life better, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would like to do that for you if we are able. I have a significantly long list of feelings about governments and corporations and large groupings of people, but I think that one of the ways that we can genuinely affect change is a one-on-one. So if there's something that I can do for you, please let me know, okay?
Don't hesitate.
We love you guys. We miss hanging out with you at conventions and board game clubs and at the friendly local game store and on and on and on. Someday, it'll go back to normal.
We'll be back across the table with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye. Yeah.